Anyway, let's talk a bit about tech. We probably should do that. So I don't know if it's going to be out by the time you guys see this. It might. I've recorded the video already, but it depends on the upload schedule. Plasma Bigscreen. Plasma Bigscreen. I recently made a video on this, and honestly, I think the project is really, really cool. Albeit, it is a little bit buggy right now. Just a little bit buggy. I have had a couple of cases of things crashing. I don't really know replication conditions. It does have controller input, which I think is very, very cool. But a lot of KDE applications don't really play nicely with a controller. So whilst you can, it's like... it's not pleasant to work with. So you can also do mouse emulation with your, I think it's right thumbstick, and then clicking with the right thumbstick is gonna like emulate a mouse. So like you can kind of make do with it, but you also can't interact with the virtual keyboard using the controller. So you can open it with the controller by pretending to be a mouse, but you don't have that thing where on Steam with like a Steam input, like a SteamOS, where you can just enter any field with the Plasma keyboard using the controller. You can, again, by clicking the keys with the cursor, like with the cursor emulated by the stick, but it's just, it's not a good experience right now. As it currently stands, you probably don't really want to do that. But in places where it works, so if you have a Plasma Bigscreen and then you sort of go right into Steam Big Picture mode, or you have a media player that has controller input, or other little areas where it works quite well, it is super cool. It is so, so cool, and I'm excited to see where the project goes, because there was a long time ago, back in the Unity days, where, let me see if I can find the video now, Linux, Unity, TV... Austin Evans. Wait, I probably linked to the Austin Evans video in my video. Yes, I did do exactly that. Thank you, Brody, from 3 years ago.
Live from CD. Hey guys, this is Austin reporting live from
14 years ago from Austin Evans. 10K views. So this is something that was happening with Unity. They were trying to be more like a, like a smart TV competitor, but the same kind of idea. This is kind of what they were working on back then. Unity is kind of the last time we had something like of this nature. I guess you can argue Plex is kind of like it, but Plex is specifically video, right? And obviously, Ubuntu TV was kind of specifically video as well, but you could probably do other things as well. I'm liking this is coming back as a thing, right? Because people are interested in the idea of the Steam machine, and you're going to use it as kind of like a under-the-TV kind of PC. So if you have that there, and it gets to a point where it's good enough, then maybe that could ship with SteamOS. Right now, it's this, like, secondary session, so you can't just, like, easily swap into it, like... There's a couple of things that make it a little bit tedious to work with. But I think down the road, this could be another area where Plasma is just filling a niche, filling a use case that a lot of people have. And I've talked about this a lot recently, and I do think it is worth repeating. I think KDE is doing utterly amazing work, and it really shows, right? Like, I've talked about this before. This is PKG stats. This is package installations on Arch Linux. The blue line here, that's Plasma. That's KDE Plasma. The red line here, that's Gnome. And the green line, that's XFCE. Obviously, this is just KDE, right? And for like the past year or so, it's been just Arch Linux. For the past year or so, it's been popping off. There has been this, like, there was this, like, 6-year period where it was kind of not really going anywhere. It, like, fell down, went back out. It was kind of just not really doing anything. But ever since, like, Plasma 6 came out, it really has just entirely changed. Now, you might see that Gnome started falling off quite a bit earlier, but, that's a Gnome thing for you. I'm really happy with Plasma right now. I really am happy with Plasma. I've been using it for the past couple of weeks. I still haven't done my video on, like, my long-term thoughts of Plasma, but ever since they added in the proper virtual desktops, like, I like Neri. I really like Neri. And I still need to do a video on Carousel and try out Carousel, but I don't dislike working with a floating environment as much as I thought I did. I think most of my issue with it actually was the fact that virtual desktops did not work properly. I actually think that's a big part of it. And I know saying that is crazy. I still love my tiling. I still love my scrolling environment, but it's not as bothersome to use now that I have working virtual desktops. Now that I do like weird hacks to like do sticky windows and dumb idea to make it work. I think people are starting to realize that Plasma right now, like, it's not KDE 4 anymore. Like, it's not KDE 4. We're not in the space where it's incredibly buggy. Now, Bigscreen's buggy, but Bigscreen is a secondary part of Plasma, not really part of the main session right now. Things have only gotten better in the past couple of years. There's been a lot more features added. There's been a lot more use cases being solved. And that can't really be said about every environment out there, right? Like, KDE, even if you don't agree with every single thing they do, you can trust the fact that they are working towards making the environment better. They are working towards this being the best possible desktop it can possibly be. I recently talked about the KDE goals and the funding from the Sovereign Tech Fund, and one of the goals was to get Plasma to a state where it's being shipped on SUSE, it's being shipped on RHEL due to customer demand, because employees at these companies want access to KDE, want access to Plasma, are not happy just using Gnome anymore because that's the thing that Red Hat has had for a while, but want this experience that people on the desktop are having. And I think as you're seeing Valve show off more of Plasma, showing off the showing off SteamOS through the Steam Machine and the Steam Deck, it's not like professionals have no exposure to the rest of the tech industry, right? A lot of the people who are going to work in these like professional developer context, they probably are gamers. They probably know what Valve is doing. They're probably aware of Plasma, even if they don't necessarily daily drive Linux themselves. So being exposed to that and seeing what's been done here, it's not just Valve, but everyone in KDE has done to create this amazing desktop environment, I don't think it's impossible for this to happen. A big part of the reason why a lot of these like big desktops swapped away from KDE was because of their release model. They had this weird cadence where one thing's released, I think, every 3 months, and another every 6 months, and another every 9 months. And there's a reason why Ubuntu and Fedora both release in around April and around October, because that's when GNOME does their releases. They do these 2-yearly releases and then smaller releases in between, and these are really easy to handle if you have a schedule. KDE didn't really have a proper schedule, and it was weird and awkward, and they have been trying to smooth that out over the past couple of years. I think they haven't just yet, but it is something which is absolutely on their radar and absolutely something which is being worked on. I think maybe two of the components have been mostly smoothed out, and they have more of a proper schedule now, rather than just, it kind of happens when it happens. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen in this space. I really don't. But I'm excited for it. I am really excited for it because I want there to be a strong GNOME as well. I really do. But I just can't see it happening right now with the state of the project, with, you know, the whole like use case thing is kind of a meme, but it's really not a meme, because it is very much the mentality that exists within GNOME. GNOME knows best. Use case. What's the use case for that? Like, oh, if you have that feature, then we'll just go and implement it. And yeah, you should go and implement it. Absolutely. But there does seem to be this very sort of different cultural dichotomy between the two projects. That's probably not even a sentence that makes sense. Whereas on GNOME, it feels like unless you're aligned with the goals of the project, your opinion, your thoughts don't really matter. Whereas on KDE, there is this interest in experimenting with ideas and trying things out, letting people do things which are, going to make the code base a bit more complex, but are going to add things which people really care about. That's like the big thing, like adding things which people care about. And you're even seeing this within like GNOME communities, right? Go to the like the GNOME subreddit, for example. Every so often I lurk through there because it's kind of fun to see what is happening on that side. And I've been seeing a lot of these Doom posts where it's like, GNOME feels like it isn't moving. I am not excited about GNOME. I don't know really where what GNOME's doing, where GNOME's going. Oh, look, there's another email client. Why is there another email client being made? Why not work on this main one? And there's like nothing wrong with going and like doing your own thing, but it sort of compounds upon itself, where I think a lot of people are starting to realize that it feels like GNOME is kind of spinning its wheels. It's not really going anywhere. There's a lot of things which people want, which people have been asking for a long time. And those thoughts tend to get dismissed as, oh, if you want it, then go and implement it yourself. But then, even when there is an implementation, some of that stuff just sits around for a long time, sits open for a long time, because it doesn't align with the vision, or worse yet, it might align with the vision, but let us go through like 7 different design committees before a color can be changed, before a button can be added. And it's just like, I get it, right? I get it. But at the same time, there is this kind of thing where, even though it's not a corporate project, a lot of the practices, a lot of the ways that it seems like interaction is being done feel very corporate-y. It's like, oh, we want to make this very basic change. We've got to have meetings. We've got to have design committees. We've got to do all of these different things, where it's like, you don't need to. You really don't need to. And yeah, Plasma obviously has like some of that as well, but Plasma is willing to ship something. You know what? That's what it is. Plasma is willing to ship something which is not necessarily immediately perfect. Whereas on GNOME, a lot of what you see, there has to be all of these meetings and all these committees and all of this discussion, because it can't be updated in the future. It has to be right from the beginning, because otherwise people get used to the way it works. And yeah, I get it, but like, I think a lot of people are just, I think a lot of people that work on projects in the open source world, whether it be desktops or others, don't really go and see what is happening in other projects. And I don't just mean like interacting with someone on Mastodon. I mean, go and use the project, go and hang out in their spaces, go and like read their issue track, go and see what is happening, and see like where you can improve, where they can improve, and overall try to just make a better experience and a better piece of software. A lot of people are kind of just like, they live within their own little bubble. and they don't know that there is a world outside that bubble. They don't know that there is a use case that is being solved on some other environment because they exist within a context where that use case doesn't even exist, and anyone who had that use case has just long since left to another environment.